Namaste. Welcome. I'm Carol from My Yoga Essence. Today, I'd like to share with you a practice of how to balance your yin and your yang. We have both yin and yang qualities within ourselves, despite whether you are female or male, as the yin is the more feminine quality and the yang is the more masculine quality. The yin is the moon, the yang is the sun. Yin is your left, yang is your right. Yin is the more quiet, receptive side, whereas the yang is that more outward, expansive, the louder side. And so I'd like you to just drop into yourself for a moment and just noticing the kind of qualities that sort of really pop up for you really clearly as to knowing who you are already in person. Whether you tend to be a bit more fiery in nature, or you're a bit more cooling and calming in nature. Whether you are the go, go, go sort of person who's always been pulled in many different directions and often doing something very active perhaps. Or rather, you are the kind of person who really take your time, that very slow and steadiness, and you've got that stillness and stability in you, that quietness, that you just prefer to be nice and quiet rather than just getting out. And even if you do have a physical activity, whether the activity itself is more rhythmic movement, dynamic, or the movement is more slow, mindful, more quiet, and maybe even less movement. And noticing the kind of food that you enjoy, whether you like the hot, spicy, intense flavor, or you prefer the more mild, cooling, calming, simple food. And then open up the eyes. Just by, getting a general sense of the yin and yang qualities, you start to acknowledge the kind of things that is also inside of you. And this is the kind of thing that sort of revolves as to our nature. And knowing what our nature is going to help us to understand how our life unfolds. Because as we are more of a yin nature, for example, our life tends to be more yin in nature as well. And so we tend to be drawn to things that are more yin. Whereas if you're a more yang person, then of course your life is more sort of that intense, extreme, full on, and so that's sort of the two different sort of paths. But at the same time, to understand that we are the like increases like, we wanted to find that balance so that if you're more yin, maybe you can approach your life in a more, more yang, have a bit of more intensity within, the underlying softness that you are moving through your life. And versus with yang, if you're very yang in person and your life is very intense and full on, then maybe you can, find a bit of space in between all those activity. Because yin is resting and digesting, and yang is activity. And so we needed to be finding this beautiful balance between the yin and the yang qualities, and this is how we're going to apply it into our life in a more easeful flow, which allows us to move towards a more graceful way of living as well. So here is the practice, and it's going to be two balancing pose. And I like you to approach it in a way that is got the yin element in surrendering into it, while you've got the yang, you've got the determination, the commitment to move you through the two poses. So we'll start on our feet and just bring your right knee up into your chest. You're going to extend the right arm up towards the ceiling, left hand outside the knee. So as you inhale, you reach your right arm up, and as you exhale, you're going to circle that right arm back, maybe gaze back. And then you're going to release your foot, holding onto the foot, chest forward, extend the left arm forward and up, and into a little dancer's pose, so back bend. It doesn't need to be a fullest expression. And then exhale, slowly release. We're going to move through this again. Inhale, right arm goes up. And finding your twist as you exhale. And releasing your foot, chest face forward. Inhale, extending the front of the body. And then exhale, slowly release. Inhale. And just really follow the breath here as you continue. So you know the two poses, and you're just moving through with as ease while you've got that determination, that yang, that fire that you're cultivating, that tappers that we talked about last week, that I talked about last week. And so as you slow things down as well, you move with that stability and steadiness, and noticing when really things throw out of your way, which happens, and it's perfectly okay, because this is a practice, and you just keep going and keep practicing, refining. Even every round, maybe there's a little bit more movement as the body starts to open. And just finishing with this round, coming back, and just release your foot, and just take a moment to find stability, just to restore that equilibrium. Finding that steadiness of your breath. Noticing how that Yin and Yang practice within the two poses have really helped you to move with a bit more balance, so that you're not just falling on one side where you're just dropping into it, where you're just flopping and getting really lazy and lethargic. At the same time, you're not overly pushing yourself too hard. So you just want to find that harmony of the yin and yang element within the yoga itself, and your approach towards the poses, and how this can really help you to bring it through into everything that you do in your life with much more ease and effortless. So hopefully that was useful, and I hope to see you next time.